So yesterday, during the closing session, there were some interesting reflections on the rapid evolution of attention around social protection. And Sten Jorgensen said, we are in a completely different world from where we were 10 years ago, a world in which even the least developed countries are investing significant amounts of their own money in building social protection systems. And Sten, I think in your words, this was utterly amazing. It is, and all of it also points to a very different role for UN agencies. Our job, as always, is to work with you and support you and the vulnerable people who live within your borders. But as you invest more and more in strengthening your own systems, so must we also focus on systems and not just, as our chief economist from DFID said yesterday, not just do good things and maybe sometimes call them social protection. So to the governments, especially the 30 country governments who were invited here as guests and who've traveled so far to be here, I'd like to say a few things. And first, of course, is thank you. Thank you for traveling so far to be part of these discussions. And I'd also like to say and I'm speaking on behalf in particular of the UN agencies who were involved in organizing this conference, UNICEF, UNHCR, FAO, and WFP. And I'd also like to say we can help you. Collectively, we actually have quite a bit of knowledge in how to do some of the things that we've been talking about over the past couple of days. And I'm talking about, how to design and adjust policies so that they can respond to shocks, and talking about how to design and adjust programs. And I'm talking even about the real nuts and bolts of how do you actually decide what to transfer to whom and when, and change that when any sort of crisis hits. So we really are ready to organize ourselves and deploy this knowledge as best we can to support and in the service of your vision. And I acknowledge from the discussions over the past couple of days how very much of a vision already exists in many of these countries. And we're with you also as necessary and as you wish in defining that vision. So the momentum behind social protection has been, I've seen it very much over the past number of months in actually organizing this conference. It's been tremendously energizing, and it's been very unifying. And I do genuinely see a very strong commitment to systems and not just to the good things. So in short, on behalf of the UN organizations who've been working on organizing this conference, I do extend a few thanks. We ourselves have already been thanked, but perhaps a particular acknowledgement is due to a few people who worked very tirelessly, although I assume they are by now tired, behind the scenes to make all of this flawless logistics of the last 2 days happen. So maybe I can just highlight Ian Orton and Sara Perez-Diaz, Yasmin, and the Brussels office. Real thanks and also full credit to UNICEF for having the initiative to have this conference in the first place, and to all of you, especially our 30-country government guests, but of course not only, for making the trip. Please count us in and count on us.
It is a very unconventional form that a technical working group closes a conference. And being asked to give some words from the technical working group, I also like to invite you in some stories that normally are not spoken at such a conference. So that is how to bring an emergent topic to the attention of the global policy that it deserves an international conference. And the second is how to organize and make such a conference attractive for partners and participants to come. So to the first point, I'd like to start with something else that we heard so often in these 2 days. How linking social protection and humanitarian action can bridge the development humanitarian divide. So what is it? It is the cradle of that conference. It is the statement of SPIAC-B, the title of the SPIAC-B working group, which has been brought forward to the World Humanitarian Summit last year. That's where it started. And that where UNICEF took it and prepared the concept for an international conference. I come to that later. I will now come to the second point, how to make it attractive. So at the last UN General Assembly last year, I was asked by Alexandra Yaste that she has an important thing to share with me, with the European Commission. And she told me about that concept. She told me that she is preparing and UNICEF is preparing for such a conference and they'd like to have the European Commission on board. You feel privileged. You think, wow, we make that together with UNICEF. And we talked with our colleagues from ECHO, and we were starting next thing, the two of us, ECHO, DEFCO. And we said, yes, we are prepared to do that. And we realized that UNICEF approached many others with the same request, and that we were privileged and all the others were also privileged. And that brought us together, that we are not two, that we were so many that come here and co-organizing such an event. But that's only the first part of the story. The second one is, then you have to decide where to make it. What's the signal with that? How to bring it, how to find a venue that is attractive. We finally decided to make it in Brussels. We decided to make it in this venue. And then too many interest was there. So we reported it back 3 months later in order to have less participants, but we got even more. So, and then we have the room is still too small, but it's full from the first day until the last day. That's also something else you have to remind. If you organize a conference, don't take a too big venue. We were, at the beginning we were against that, but we were absolutely convinced. And now there's also some sad news among all these encouraging things that we had. Our group that had helped us to start that, the working group of SPIAC-B on humanitarian, has decided that they don't want to be named SPIAC-B working group anymore. And I can tell you, people from that group, we need you. We need you for the task given to the whole group here, and we need SPIAC-B as a global mechanism that brings forward that topic, and we will ask you at the next SPIAC-B meeting if you are ready to be a SPIAC-B working group, and we'd like to hand over to you the task to help us to bring forward this important topic on social protection in different contexts of crisis, human development, and long term. And when we talk about indicators, we also have to have an indicator, what is the long-term social protection system? I would say one that you might remember. Long-term is when humanitarians start to prepare for a long-term pension system. When you think about that, you are not in 5 years, you are in a 40 years perspective. If we are at that point, we have reached what we wanted to reach, and we can go over to make a reality on universal social protection, which will be the next step. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening. It is such an honor to give the final thanks to all of you on behalf of the governments of Sweden, Germany, UK, and Finland. I was part of the Rome meeting when the technical working group began the work in December last year. And it was a small group of experts, and we were planning to have a workshop, I think, to throw around some ideas. And I think the fact that we have what we have is the clearest of signals that this is an issue that is extremely timely and important. So we just wanted to reinforce three things. Many of them have already been said, but we find them very important. And just, this already has been mentioned, but going back to the beginning, the keynote speech, and talking about the good things that can look and smell like social protection, but may not be building resilient systems. Holding the vision of universal social protection is really critical, and holding the vision of a life course approach and looking at the risks that we all face across our lives, also in the context of humanitarian work and fragile contexts. And linked to that is the recognition of outcomes beyond poverty. We've been hearing the words around social cohesion, security, dignity, and hope over and over again, and we must not forget that. Someone in one of the sessions was talking about how fragmented social protection is going to deliver fragmented social contracts or no contract at all. And we need to keep that in mind. And finally, the saying about if you want to go fast, go alone. And if we want to go far, we need to go together. And far we need to go. So this is just an invitation to stick together and to keep working as we have. And I think it's difficult because we are coming from different sectors and we're not used to working together. So it's an invitation to tolerate it and tolerate the uncertainty and sometimes not understanding each other. But we are doing it here, and we have been doing this here when we've been preparing. So it's an invitation to really stick with it. We have limited resources that we have to use most efficiently when we do it together. But we also need to think new things. We can't think new things on our own. So with that, I'm just going to thank all of you for your curiosity and courage and constructive conversations. And it's been a tremendous 2 months. So I will just want to wish you all a very safe journey home.